And joining us now, U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright. Mr. Secretary, welcome to Fox News Sunday.
Thanks for having me, Shannon.
Okay, so of course we're just talking about the Strait of Hormuz there and the impact that has on oil prices worldwide. The average for a gallon of gas here in the U.S. is up over 40 cents since these strikes started. What is the plan?
Yeah, the plan is to get oil and natural gas and fertilizer and all the products from the Gulf flowing through the straits before too long. And I may break a little news here, but one large tanker has already gone through the straits with no issues at all. So as the general just described, we're massively attriting their ability to strike with missiles and drones. And that rate of attrition will increase in the coming days. So we'll be cautious, we'll be careful, but energy will flow soon. It's one of the reasons the president had to move on this war. Iran has just terrorized America, the neighborhood, and energy markets for 47 years.
All right, I want to get your take on something that Politico is reporting. It says Energy Secretary Chris Wright and other advisors focused on energy policy, quote, are getting screamed at to find some good news on bringing down prices. Quote, folks are scrambling for announcements and messaging to counter the narrative of these rising prices. Fact or fiction? What can you tell us on how this is playing inside the White House?
Oh, it's fiction. It's right along the line. I've read about a dozen fiction pieces from Politico and other news things about just stuff totally made up, whole cloth. We've been planning and talking about this, for quite some time. Energy markets are massively well supplied right now. In fact, the run up in prices has nothing to do with any shortage of barrels of oil or natural gas. It's just fear and perception, the unknown, that this could be some long, drawn-out crisis. But it won't be. As you heard from the general, progress is going very fast. The world is abundantly supplied with energy, thanks to President Trump's energy dominance agenda. The United States is a net exporter of oil, net exporter of natural gas. We're in contact with our allies. This is a disruption on the way to a much better place to end a 47-year war against America.
So let's talk about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. It was depleted quite a bit during President Biden, and President Trump had said that's one of the priorities is to get it refilled. That hasn't happened yet. House Democrat Sean Casten said this to the Financial Times. He said, it is not at all surprising that someone who failed to consider the political dynamics in Iran, Iran's ability to strike our allies and bases in the region, or the regional destabilization that follows the collapse of the Iranian government, would also fail to refill our nation's Strategic Petroleum Reserve prior to the price spikes, which have predictably followed. So what's the plan with respect to the reserve?
Yes, again, Representative Casten, of course, wrong on both of those points, and probably fully aware he's wrong when he says that. That's just so unusual for me to see these sort of knowingly false accusations against this administration while the country's heated in a conflict right now that will make the world better, not just in the Middle East, but for everyone. So we have been refilling the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, but we only can do that with monies approved by Congress. In the Working Families Tax Cut Act, there was some monies in it. We have been deploying that during a period of low oil prices to put some oil back into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. But yes, it shouldn't have been depleted for the 2022 midterm elections as the Biden administration did. But again, we've done many other moves that allow the world to remain fully supplied with oil during this relatively brief conflict.
So let me ask you about one of those moves by Treasury will allow India to buy Russian oil products. And there are questions about, listen, the president's put enormous pressure on, both Putin and Zelensky trying to get that conflict ended. So what about this criticism that allowing Russia to now profit again off of its oil, even if it's short term, is going to lessen the pressure on them to get to the table and get this thing done?
Oh, I don't think there's any change in the pressure there or the policy there. Russia's oil remains sanctioned. There's no change in policy towards Russia, but there's just a lot of tankers stacked up. China doesn't treat its discount gas station suppliers very well. They're about to lose the second of three of them. So there's a lot of Russian oil that's just hanging out on the water in Asia. And it's in Asia where the refineries are looking for oil. So we just made a pragmatic decision. Instead of waiting at the gas pump for another, month or two to arrive in China, let's pull that oil into Indian refineries right now. because they supply not just the 1.4 billion Indians, but they export products to the region around there. So it's just a pragmatic decision. It's no change in Russia. It just speeds up some sales that were going to happen anyway.
All right. So can you give folks a timeline on what we started talking about, which are those gas prices at the pump, the thing that every day they go and it's a real check on their own wallet?
And it is, Shannon, that this president came in on an energy dominance agenda driven for one reason, to lower prices for Americans and increase job opportunities and therefore push up wages. So, yes, he is keenly focused on gasoline prices. But I think we believe this is a small price to pay to get to a world where energy prices are returned back to where they were. And I'm talking weeks, certainly not months. This is weeks and probably an outside case. And then you'll see this removal of this destabilization from investment and funds and peace in the Middle East. Iran will finally be defanged. And now you can see more investment, more free flow of trade, less ability to threaten energy supplies. And what President Trump is doing is setting up a world for years and decades ahead of lower energy prices, more stability, commerce over conflict.
All right, Secretary Wright, we appreciate your time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Shannon.